Thanks for coming. Great spread. Thanks for having us, PB team. Kirsty and I are the New Zealand Arctic Wolf team. We're part of a much, much larger organisation, obviously a global organisation, and we do get to Christchurch on a fairly reasonable basis, like once a quarter. So if anyone's interested in having a one-on-one discussion with us, reach out to the PB team and we can have that discussion. I've actually met quite a lot of the people in the room. But for those that don't know me, Alex Johnson, I am the systems engineer responsible for Arctic Wolf for New Zealand. So I was first boots on the ground with Arctic Wolf when we landed just over 2.5 years ago. And it's been a wild ride, especially with the advent of the new technologies that are coming out and the changes in the threat landscape. Beginning of the year, I got a phone call like January 1. And obviously it was about the Manage My Health breach. That has triggered a whole bunch of changes in the way that we think about security in the New Zealand market. And it's been really interesting for us because what it's done is it's impacted so many of us regular Kiwis. And it wasn't just highlighting something like the Waikato breach, where people who cared about it were the people in Waikato. It's impacted all of us as Kiwis, right? And that's just getting more and more prevalent. So we're seeing a lot more AI targeted threats. So with that, I'm going to actually be talking about AI as part of what we've been doing. In April this year, there's a global security conference called RSAC. It happened in San Francisco. All of the big vendors went. We announced some major changes to the way that we do our platform, and I'll be talking about that. And it's really just enhancing the services that we have today. So if you've got any questions as we go through, fire them away or come and see Kirsty and myself afterwards. Who is Arctic Wolf and kind of why are we here? So we are the largest global commercial security operations platform. Security operations is our bread and butter. We integrate with pretty much everyone in this room. Okay, so we'll take that security telemetry from all of those people. We've got over 10,000 customers globally. The key elements in this slide that you should be aware of is that we do run a 24/7, 365 eyes on glass security operations platform, but we've got over 1,000 security engineers to back that up. They've got your back, right? So, and that's really important because things don't happen 9 to 5 in the security world, right? So a lot of stuff happens after hours. The other area that I want to point out in this slide is that we have been awarded, I guess, in the Gartner Peer Insights, the most recommended security operations or MDR service globally for the last 3 years in a row. Why is that important? Because it's people talking to people, okay? So it's actually when they, it's not an analyst talking to everyone else, it's the people saying, I recommend Arctic Wolf. Here's the rub. So AI, you've heard probably about Mythos. I'm surprised it hasn't come up already today. Nobody's talking about it yet. And the changes that are coming out in that space, the speed at which agentic AI is hitting the world and the impact of it. So Anthropic was so concerned about it that they pulled it and they just gave it to like the top 50 security vendors, or it's top 50 software vendors to test because of what they believe that it can do. We announced at RSAC the superintelligence platform and the agentic SOC. So it's building on the services that we've been doing for the last 14 years. The individuals in this room, you all got different roles to play. So there's some CISOs I've been talking to IT leaders, and I've been talking to people that have been either in an MSP or people who are currently in MSPs. Everyone's got different challenges. The CISOs have to work out how they can build an AI strategy. The IT leaders are sitting there going like, oh my God, if we build an IT strategy, how am I going to resource this? And then the people at the services side of it, the people who are the doers, are kind of going, how do I up level myself, or am I actually going to have a job? Is probably one of the most important things. AI in security is prevalent, and it's going to get more and more so. So what are you going to do about that? How are you going to support it? We're seeing AI on both sides of the fence. The attackers are using it. I think everyone in this room, it comes up quite a lot. The phishing simulations have got so much better, right? You don't even know whether it's a human or whether it's some bot that's actually talking to you. Now, we're just talking, if you listen to what Rodney was saying, it's too human in some respects. So it's making it really harder for us on the defense side to actually respond to these sorts of things. The only way that you can respond to AI-based attacks is with AI-based defense. Okay. So you need to be thinking about that as you're building your security strategies going forward. We know historically there's been over 4,000 security vendors out there. Each of these vendors have got multiple different tools, and they're all looking for a bit of time with yourself to sell you another tool to work on the problem. It's not a tools problem, it's an operational problem that you need to be thinking about. And so the concern here isn't AI supposed to be helping? Well, it is, but there are still some challenges, right? Because has trust been built into the platform that you're doing? How do you know that the data that it's being tested on is real data and relevant data? The bulk of these new tools are being developed on synthetic data that has no context, no relevance to your business. That's a real challenge and a real concern, because hallucinations still happen, but things like that are happening at machine speed now. Lots more tools are AI ready, but who's doing the training and how are they doing the training? Before I came to Arctic Wolf, I spent many years in Asia working as a principal data architect for a large storage company. Spent a lot of time working with organizations building large language models, or building the architecture around building large language models. And it's, unless you train these platforms correctly with relevant data, garbage in, garbage out, okay? So that's the problem with training on synthetic data. Our approach, we have, as one of the largest commercial SOCs, we have also got one of the largest security data lakes that we can train our platform on. So it's relevant and it's contextualized to our customers. There's different approaches, right? So the frontier models, and like I mentioned, people talking about Mythos and what's going on there with Claude, building their own models, it's a challenge. How do they build context into these different things? So you've got different approaches. You either kind of go with a frontier approach, fraught with risk, fraught with danger. You go and you buy a different solution. So you bolt on a different solution to go another tools approach. You're bolting something on to work with the environment. Or you go to a startup, and still, to be honest, the bulk of the solutions out there are startup. And so they are even more fraught with risk, because they are, you just don't know who's developing these things. I've been speaking to a few people today that are going out there and they're building their own Claude-based agents, which is great. But they also need to think about their data, where their data is sitting, who has access to it, and those sorts of things, right? So it's really important that you understand the the impact of what you're doing when it comes to building out these sorts of services. So the CISOs have got a few challenges, right? So you either the platform doesn't work because it hasn't been built correctly, or it doesn't work at scale, or it's not being tested correctly, or the ROI doesn't work. When it comes to building out your ROI, there's a lot of things to think about, and the hallucinations and everything else that comes with using AI startups, potentially you're at risk of things taking longer to deploy and not being as thorough as they should be, right? So you're open to fraught with danger and risk. As I mentioned, we released the Aurora Superintelligence platform. It's a funny name, I get that. Don't blame me, blame the marketing team. But what it's all about is actually having context built into the service. So as an organization, our platform, we always have been developed to have context. So every customer gets a named pair of security engineers to work with you to understand your business. We call that the concierge delivery model. Right? So they'll work with you to do continuous posture improvement. They understand your business, they understand the relevance and what's important to you. We've baked that into the superintelligence platform. So it's machine speed with context. That's really important. So the superintelligence platform is the ability to outperform human-only and AI-only approaches while delivering safe, reliable, and trustworthy results. That's the key, is actually that whole trust element into it when it comes to these sorts of things. So what does the platform look like? We have MDR, or managed detection and response, as our core service, right? So that's security operations at scale. We also do vulnerability management. We do security awareness training. We do incident response. But everything is built on the Aurora platform. Now that we've got the superintelligence platform, effectively think of it as this large AI data pipeline. So all of that information's always been coming into the platform. We're using different technologies, our technology and our customers' technology, to reduce the noise. But we're also layering on more and more agents into the mix. So our agentic SOC, which I'm going to talk to in a second. We have the security operations graph is what we're talking about. That's the trust engine. So all of the data that comes in has to have some level of context into it. So the security data lake that we have has been built with trust in mind. We now have a swarm of experts as part of the agentic SOC, which I'll talk to in a second. And then the trust engine. So the agentic SOC, there's over 300 agents that we are rolling out. So they have different roles. The idea is we want to improve speed and efficacy within the platform. So the faster we can respond to something, with the better the results, the more likely that it's going to be a true positive, the faster we can provide an outcome that's, we can shut things down and respond to things quickly. Building into that, we're always going to have that concierge model. So we're always going to have a human in the loop. And that's really important because it's the human that has the context and what's relevant to your business. They understand whether people travel on a regular basis or not. They understand what's important to your business. What does your processes look like, and those sorts of things. So having a human in the loop is super important when it comes to these sorts of things. What it's allowed us to do is, like I said, speed and efficacy, right? So 15 times improvement in performance with a 3 times improvement in ticketing. We've always valued ourselves on how good we are at the ticketing. So the idea with the way that the platform gets built out is that we work with the customer to understand their environment, to reduce that noise so that you're only getting true positives anyway. But sometimes things slip. Now we're getting a much, much better result because the technology is able to actually do a lot of that kind of heavy lifting for us. But like I say, nothing actually gets escalated from an alert or to an alert unless we've had a human validate it. And it's also helped to improve the ROI because we are doing things faster and more efficient over trying to roll your own. People still like to or consider, there's a lot less people doing it these days, but considering actually building your own security operations. You know, when you think about it, just the human element alone on doing 24/7, 365 eyes on glass is a couple of $1 million worth of salary. Most organisations in New Zealand, that just doesn't make any sense. So some of the things you want to consider, right? Are your agents built with trust in mind? Are they deterministic? Do they have the right to do certain tasks without getting approval? So the way that our platform works is all of the agents that are out there at the moment, there's 300, we're adding more and more all the time. They have to ask a judge to say whether I have the authority to do this, right? So something has to have control of those agents when you're building them out. Do the agents have expertise? Were they designed for a specific task or are they multitasking? Each of our agents have been designed with a single task in mind, but they all talk to each other. That's how you get the speed and the efficacy. They're all self-learning, okay? So talking to each other, understanding, getting the trust, and building that out is super important. And is it economically viable to do this? When you're doing it yourself, it's quite an expensive exercise to try and build out all of these things because you've got to build for trust, you've got to build for safety and security in mind. So we've done all the heavy lifting, so we can support you in that regard. Yeah. So we've got the swarm of experts. They all have different roles. So triage agent, as an example, investigation agent, response agent. So all of these things that our traditional triage team have been doing anyway, and we're now pushing more and more of those into the agents. Okay, so for speed and efficacy, as I talked about. The graph is there as the domain expert. We've got golden data sets. So when it comes to security telemetry, having or any kind of building a large language model, that kind of stuff is important. So some of the ones that I've done, that I've worked with in the past, building out LLMs, have got over 100 petabytes worth of their golden data set, and they're ingesting multiple hundreds of terabytes at a time. We've done all of that. So that gets really expensive, right? So we've done that. We're rolling out the concierge experience that we provide all of our customers anyway. They get that. So that personal approach, the human element. So our concierge understands the customer. Because of that, we're able to push that into the SOC so that the agents have context as well, because they understand based on the information that we already know about all of our customers. And so that's the 20 minutes. Any questions? Oh, you guys are a tough room. Tyler's got a question, I'm sure he is.
I really liked the point that you made about, how cybersecurity can't really keep up with agentic AI and everything else that's going on in the threat world these days. What would be, say, the biggest challenge that you guys have had around taking something in theory and then building it into practice with your product?
That's good.
We obviously didn't rehearse these questions.
Yeah. I guess some of the biggest challenges is when you're doing this at scale, and our job is to secure you. So we need to be able to get this right. And so some of these things have been difficult, right? It's not an easy thing to do. When you're building out agentic platforms, there's a bunch of things that you need to get right. And that whole trust element, making sure that each of these different elements doesn't hallucinate, doesn't go rogue. So building that level of trust into the platform has been one of the biggest challenges. Making sure that they do what they say they're going to do, and only that.
That makes sense. I mean, you guys are a tremendously scaled SOC globally, so out of all the cybersecurity partners, you're obviously well equipped to do it.
Come on.
Get him up on stage.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, we're here. So for the rest of the day, happy to do one-on-ones and have a discussion with anyone if they're keen afterwards.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.